Hey everyone, welcome back to another LEGO video. Today I'm going to be taking a look at probably the most ambitious custom set I've ever taken on. This is the Legacy Zane's Titan Mech Battle. So yeah, this is probably the biggest custom set that I've ever taken on. This, of course, is going to be a $60 set when it releases January 1st, 2021. If you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video if you guys do enjoy it. And of course, follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes stuff and all that other stuff as well. And yeah, let's get right into it. So similar to all the other custom sets that I've done, this of course is adapted from the official set that's coming out later this year, so it's not actually the official set. This is a custom set. I do want to kind of reiterate that here. And while a lot of the techniques on this are reverse engineered from the set pictures, a lot of these things are still kind of up to my creative liberty, I guess. And I've done some things a bit differently, obviously, so we'll get into that when we look a bit closer at the model. Starting off at the bottom of the mech, we have a lot of really interesting techniques here. It's not super complicated, but of course it's pretty similar to the actual set that's coming out. Overall, the legs have to be pretty sturdy because this thing is quite large. I'd say in scale, it's pretty similar to Lloyd's Titan mech from season 11, I believe that was. So it's quite a large mech. It needs a really structurally sound kind of general core, if you will. So that was definitely interesting to put together. Anyway, you can see this juxtaposition of a lot of white colors as well as some of the sand blue, which is an interesting choice for this mech. I think it complements the colors pretty well, and it looks pretty good. Another interesting thing to note about the legs is there are actually knee joints, which is kind of nice, but it's also kind of a drawback again from that structural side of things, because it does make this thing kind of unstable, I guess. In certain positions that you put the legs in could potentially cause it to fall over, so you've just kind of got to be conscious of that. Looking a bit closer at the actual body build of this thing, you can see there's kind of a Technic core going on in the middle. Of course, that is surrounded by these black slopes and this whole kind of black kind of surrounded bit, which is kind of covered up by all the details on the front, but that is there, and that's kind of the main core of the build. Some of the details on the front, of course, follow the same color scheme that we see with the rest of the mech, that being the sort of dark azure / sand blue thing going on, as well as the gold ingot pieces to kind of add a little bit of extra design there. On top of that, there's actually the shuttle tail piece, whatever that is. It's usually used on planes, I think, and that sort of adds a bit more shape, and it's a really interesting sort of just geometry there, I guess. That's the best way to put it, but I don't know, it just looks really interesting the way that the pieces all kind of come together in the center there with the sort of triangular piece kind of touching the top of the shuttle tail thing. Moving up from that, you can see the sort of main cockpit where you'd pilot the mech from here. To get into that, you can actually lift up the head a bit, and you can sort of put a figure in there. That makes sense, obviously. Once again, inside the cockpit, there's not really much going on, as there's really no reason to have too much going on in there, but you can see there's a control panel, which is a nice little detail to throw in there, and yeah, it kind of completes that part of the build. As you would expect, above where you pilot the mech, you've got the head, as well as two of these sort of spring-loaded shooters, which adds some extra playability value, I guess, to this set, considering there's really not too much going on with a mech. Then again, I don't know what you would add to a mech, because LEGO doesn't generally add too many play features to mechs, but you do have these spring-loaded shooters. They, of course, work as you would expect. You can angle them around a bit if you want to try and aim them, but good luck good luck doing that. Taking a look at the head, this is sort of an intricate build, but it's also not really that much. It's pretty straightforward. It's actually very reminiscent of the original designed head that we had on the original Titan mech from 2015, I believe. Some of the stickered elements that I used here are actually from the Shuricopter and Zane's ice cycle thing from season 8. These, of course, have a very similar style to the Titan mech, and they really fit in here. Of course, they have the same color scheme, and the metallic kind of features of the Shuricopter triangular flat pieces work really well. Moving on to probably the most iconic and noticeable thing about this mech, that is the sort of triangular shaped kind of shoulder guard pieces, I guess that's what you'd call them. Obviously, these weren't really on the original mech. This is kind of a design choice that LEGO chose to go with for the Legacy remake, which I actually think is pretty nice. These are really interesting looking pieces, obviously. These pieces were used on like the Sistar starship or whatever from the LEGO Movie 2. This is a piece that I think is usually used in more Friends sets, so I'm not particularly familiar with it. But it's definitely a very interesting looking piece, and I think it shapes everything really well. Anyway, the composition of the arms is interesting, I guess. There's sort of these triangular shoulder guards, as I said, that kind of can be angled around however you want them to. That works really well. Underneath that, of course, you have the kind of main arm here with some of these pentagonal shield pieces and a bit of extra detailing. And of course, the colors here are very similar to the rest of the mech, as I would continue to say. Of course, we've got the sand blue, we've got a lot of the white and some of the dark azure as well. Moving down from that, you can see we do have an elbow joint. This is kind of important for a mech, obviously, because you want to be able to actually articulate the arms around. The building technique for this elbow joint is actually pretty smart on LEGO's part. because it uses the sort of round plate pieces, whatever they're called, to sort of sandwich the ball joint in between, which basically means that you're limiting the range of motion of this arm, so it literally only functions as an elbow joint and not like a full ball joint. So I can definitely respect that building technique there, and that works very well. Looking at the lower bit of the arm, you can see an interesting technique here, which uses the heart piece in gold to sort of emphasize the shield there, which I think looks pretty good. It's not on the official set, but it's a nice little extra detail there for the arms. And if you thought knee joints were cool, this mech also happens to have wrist joints, which kind of unneeded, but it's also kind of important for the way these sort of weapons on the arms function. Basically, because of the direction that the actual hands are built in, obviously that's different than what the kind of lower arms, the direction of the lower arms are built in. This means that we can have these sort of triangular pieces on the top, which basically lets you just lock the weapons in place. Or in the case of the kind of shuriken thing on the other side, you can rotate the wrist around, so you can basically have a 360-degree shuriken, which is pretty cool. Also, it's nice to see a bit of a different building technique for the actual fingers. It's not the traditional sort of exoforce piece that a lot of mechs tend to use, so that's definitely quite nice. Also, no custom set would really be complete without the minifigures. This set has 4 figures in total. One of them is the Golden J figure, which of course is the collectible 10-year anniversary figure. I didn't create that one. Anyway, I did do the actual 3 figures in this set. That of course starts out with the Legacy 3 Zane, I believe that's what people are calling it. Anyway, this is the possession version of Zane's outfit. This is not a very accurate rendition of it. I don't actually have the possession suit for Zane. It's like the one possession suit I don't have. So yeah, we're just gonna go with it. Anyway, the ghosts are definitely a lot better. They have some of the pieces used from Season 5, obviously, as well as some of the newer pieces to make them sort of a bit closer to what the Legacy variants look like. The Legacy variants are actually really interesting. They obviously have the Legacy hood piece used as the ghost headpiece, which is pretty nice. But yeah, this is just a bit quick overview here of the Legacy Ghosts. Anyway, with that sort of review slash showcase over, what did you guys think of this take on Zane's Titan mech? Obviously, it'd be cool if the set did come with the Ghost mech as well. That would have been really interesting. It would have been a ridiculously expensive set if they had done it at this scale, but would have been cool. Anyway, with that all being said, yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next video, and goodbye.